And I have been loading the previous classes as well on YouTube. So I think those who have missed the classes can check out the YouTube channel.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So who remembers?
I sort of remember just one point, like we've talked about how Indian literature in English being the sole representative of Indian literature.
Yeah. Uh, that was in our Indian literature class, or that was part of our comparative literature in general
I
class?
confused. Oh, sorry, I got confused. It was.
That's perfectly acceptable because these are connected papers, so it's bound to happen a bit. Uh, that's not an issue. People don't remember गजनी क्या हुआ गजनी जैसा हो गया. Which essay, by the way, did we discuss?
What is comparative literature today?
Right. So what is comparative literature today?
Sir, I think someone asked what is the crisis of comparative literature and what should be the solution. I think after Shubhra's presentation, someone asked this and we elaborated on that.
Okay.
And like how, I don't remember the perfect example, but if I can give one analogy, how there was this touchstone method and one critic tried to invent it, but it was not fully developed, right? But it was a good one. So, like if they fully developed it, they would have been able to get a good, I mean, that would be a good theory. So, like the same way, the crisis is that, you know, we don't have enough like theories, or we don't have a perfect module for comparative literature as such to
Not exactly. Not exactly.
Christ.
Anyone else wants to explain? But that was the question answer session. I am asking you what is that essay and what is that essay about? What are the points that we have discussed?
Sir, we had discussed various, I mean, not exactly definitions, but rather approaches given by different scholars. Then we had also discussed how, you know, that this discipline started falling, and how it became popular for a little while in Europe, and then it started losing its popularity. And uske baad, later on we discussed how it is, uh, it even after it lost its popularity in Europe, it started emerging as a discipline in various parts of the world, which later on, which basically was connected to the question of cultural identity, and how, because of the imperialist or Eurocentrism, many cultures were losing their identities, and this the emergence of this approach of literature it gave a new direction to the crisis of cultural identity, a solution towards the crisis of cultural identity. And we also, if I'm not mistaken, we also discussed about um, how translation also contributes to this solution of the crisis of cultural identity. And yeah, that is I think what we discussed briefly.
Okay. And do you think comparative literature was defined by Susan Bassett?
No, it was not defined by Susan Bassett.
Mhm.
But then it
Sure.
was described, but it was not defined.
Okay. So what? How is it described? What is it?
I mean,
Anyone?
I don't
Why
precisely.
solely you presented, right? What about others? Yeah, Dehini.
I think it was described in the very first paragraph. She said that it's the study of text across cultures, and it's interdisciplinary, and it's concerned with literature across both time and space.
Right. So it is defined as uh, comparative literature involves study of text across cultures, that it is interdisciplinarity, and that it is concerned with patterns of connections in literature across time and space. Okay. So that is what comparative literature is, right? So if somebody asks you what is comparative literature, now you can answer because it's given there. Any doubts about this description? Questions? Okay, so should I assume that you have understood what it is? As your Kantian geniuses. How many of you have not read this essay? Raise your hands honestly. Yes, sir. Eta, Saisal, Adija, Deputy, Neya, Dhruv. Others have read? Yotima, Komal. Okay. And who has not read? All of you have read. People who are raising hands have read, right? Should I assume that?
सर नॉट रेड बोला आपने.
Not read. Okay. Why you haven't read that? Anyone? Hmm. So you were not present in the class and did not read the essay. Is there any correlation, Pooja, with the two things? Dehini read or not read?
Sir read it, sir.
Okay. Komal has read, not read.
I did not read it.
Yeah. So why? What are the reasons?
I was busy reading essay 2. It's so long.
Okay. Okay. But I am asking you why you did not read the first one.
That was the plan, to read the first one after the class was ended, because last time also I was the one who raised hand that I did not read essay 1. But by then I got essay 2 and I was like a bit anxious. So yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Why you haven't read? Nisar?
Procrastination, sir.
Huh?
Procrastination.
Procrastination, okay. Anyone else? Birthday and got vaccinated, Pooja. Okay. Anyone else?
I was not able to concentrate. Like when this essay was taught in class, I got vaccinated. Then I was sick for 3 days, and then I tried to read it, but I was not able to concentrate. I literally read first paragraph, like first page for 10 times, and then also I didn't understand what it is. So I उसके बाद फिर मैंने कोशिश नहीं की. I just okay, I'm not doing it now.
Okay. Who else would like to tell me why they haven't read? Procrastination. Okay. Anyone else has some interesting answers? Vaccinated. अरे कितने लोग वैक्सीन ले रहे हैं? Very good. Any other reason? Okay, I'm going to share a screen now. The formula of our life. Interested? ये देखो. This is the formula of our life. Can you read this formula?
Yes, sir.
Now that is how we live our life. Now consider all the reasons that you have given, and they are justifiable, including Nisarg's reason that he procrastinated. Now consider if someone in your family, right, was in a crisis. So ये कौन है? सवाई एंड पाटिल. नेचर के साथ बैठे. Okay, good. Crisis. Say for example, person who is very close to you is in crisis. Would you have given the same reasons? My friends are getting married. I got vaccinated. I was reading essay 2. I procrastinated. मेरा birthday था. Would you give the same explanation? Anna. Dhruv, what about you? Why didn't you read?
Sir, I have like got desensitized to stress, so like I only work under high pressure situations. So I usually also procrastinate until I feel it's too much for me and I have to do it intensively because I have like lack of like self discipline. So I have to be under like intense pressure to orient myself in accordance to the efforts necessary for
Now
reading.
suppose someone very close to you has a serious health issue and you are the only person attending that person. Would you say the same thing? मेरा self discipline कम है, मैं procrastinate करता हूँ, pressure आने दो और थोड़ा बाद में मैं कुछ action लूँ.
No, sir, I would not. But the thing is that academics has become like a bit of like authority-based thing. Like it's like the reinforcement that we get is from the authority. So like it's dependent on that. Whereas that would be an issue that would affect
Would
my
you
life
say,
in a
no,
holistic manner.
I'm asking you, would you say the same thing?
No, I would not. I would
Yeah,
not. I certainly would not.
Academics is like authority, so I resist that authority. इसीलिए तू मर रहा है तो मर, ऐसा कहेगा तू?
No, no, I certainly would not.
Right. So even if all these reasons are valid, right? I'm not saying they are invalid reasons. They are valid, but they are reasons. They you stop because of these reasons, right? Whatever reasons that you have given, I will put here as a valid reason. Does that happens because consider that the academics or study does not matter to you. उतना important नहीं है इसलिए. Would you agree to me? You don't care. And there is nothing at stake for you personally. कोई भी चीज दाव पे नहीं लगी है. अगर ये ऐसे नहीं पढ़ते हो तो उससे क्या होने वाला है? एग्जाम के टाइम पे पढ़ लेंगे और मार्क्स आते हैं वैसे आएंगे, राइट? हाँ ना. Last
yes, sir. That's what I meant. Authority determines this thing. That is how we subconsciously, at least, if not consciously, we do somehow believe that.
And besides, Dhruv, will there be any situation where there won't be anyone in authority?
Yes, sir. Plenty. The whole life would become like that at some point in very near future.
Tomorrow you may get a job somewhere.
Yes,
or
yes,
you may
exactly.
start your own business or whatever. There would be some authority somewhere, right? Business start कर दे तो GST वाले होंगे, taxes वाले होंगे, Government of India के norms होंगे. If you get work, then there will be authority, right? So authority is going to be there. There is never going to be a situation where there is no authority. Even the President of United States of America will have to relent to the Senate. There will always be authority ka situation. What will you do then? तू जब पेट में था ना ध्रुव, तब तुझे खाना अपने आप नहीं मिलता था 9 महीने. Your mother ate something and that reached you. It was an authoritative decision to feed you when you were in your mother's womb.
Sir, I was actually agreeing to you. What I meant when I used the word authority was that the authority either reinforces or punishes, but usually the authority here is not doing either of that. So, like, in absence of that, so now you're punishing us by shaming us. So it's working now.
I'm sorry. I got it other way around. Means you require authority to put you in action. ऐसे कोई प्रेशर लाएगा, मारेगा, डंडा करेगा तो ही तू काम करेगा. Now that is also a very interesting situation because such kind of situations also do not come by, right? I am teaching you, but it's not that anybody is sitting on my head and gun rakh ke bol raha hai ki chalo padhao hai. Right? So such situations also are rare. So if your work that is given to you, you want somebody to goad you into action all the time, then that's not going to happen. And then you will be left to your own devices, where you will have to pay the penalty for not doing what you are supposed to do. You can't expect somebody to hold you to account every time so that you will work. Right? So I'm just telling you to be careful with such kind of outlook. Okay, any other reason? So what I'm basically saying is all these things don't matter. Reading this essay doesn't matter to you. And why? Because probably you connect it with what? Exams. And you have been getting good marks till now. So what else? और क्या चाहिए college में से? Right? Wrong? For you, many of you, I'm not sure all, connect this with exams and marks. How many of you do that? Honestly, बोल दो ना. We are not here. I'm not going to punish you because I'm not going to hold a gun on Dhruv's head and make him work. Yeah, Rushi, Diyotama, very good. Good to be honest. Now, problem क्या होता है बताता हूँ. What is exams and marks in exams? I think this whole conversation about exams and marks runs our lives as students, right? And right from our schooling, exam and marks, exam mark का obsession रहता है. And you are not to be blamed for this culture in which we are brought up. We are all in some way victims of this exam marks culture, right? But the point is, what are exams actually for? Whatever the society thinks of it, may be anything, right? Society thought that if women do not conform, then they should be burnt, right? Or your abilities are determined by your birth. ऐसे भी society think करती है. In which community you are born, that decides your abilities. So all these society has all sorts of ideas. But exams are meant to check how much are you working, right? Suppose we did away with exams, right? Suppose, and marks, पूरा निकाल देते. And it's left only solely to your interest to read, right? In such a situation, what will happen, do you think?
Procrastination.
Procrastination, and it's a kind of what should I say? It's a reality check of how much you're working. And it is meant to measure in some way what we are doing in the class, not just you. हम दोनों की exam होती है, right? It's meant to bring in check that are you really reading? There was no exam around the corner, you did not read. ना. If I tell you कल exam है इसी ऐसे के ऊपर, तो आप पढ़ोगे आज? हाँ या ना? Would you read that essay if I told you that tomorrow is going to be the exam on that?
Yes, sir.
Right. So exams are meant to check your work, to keep you in action, to check your work. It doesn't really measure your abilities. It measures your performance on that day. Right. It measures whether you are really reading or not. नहीं तो आप पढ़ोगे ही नहीं. एग्जाम नहीं होगी तो आप पढ़ोगे ही नहीं. As today's example shows, right? So exams are meant to make you study, to check whether the program के ऊपर आप काम कर रहे हो कि नहीं. in some way it holds you to account as Dhruv wants it all the time. If it holds you to account, then you perform. But actually, it's only measure of what you do that day, right? It's like a scoreboard of a game. So if a particular batsman scores 50 runs, right, and other batsman scores 5 runs, does it mean, what does it mean? किसी ने 50 मार्क लाए, कोई 5 मार्क लाया, किसी ने 50 रन मारे, किसी ने 5 रन मारे. What does that mean? In a particular game, if particular batsman scores 50, other person scores 5, what does that mean? Actually, what does it mean? What does it mean? Who will tell me that on a particular day, a particular batsman scored 70 runs, another person scored 20 runs? What does it mean? Would you say that you have never studied something outside of academic interest? I will take your question later, yeah, but answer my question first, yeah. Shubhra says nothing, it's the performance of particular match, right? Form mein nahi tha batsman. Okay. But we make it an assessment of ourselves, that a person who scored 70 is more capable than person who scores 20. Right? That is how we read it. Yeah, nah. That is how the society reads it. That is how we read it. Right? But it means only that much, that on that particular day, that performer scored 70 runs and other person scored 20. That's all, as Shubhra says. But we make it a kind of assessment of our own self. Right? We think that person who has got 20 is not good enough. है ना? वो academics में कच्चा है. Yeah, whatever. We make it mean something about ourselves. And that is where the problem begins. We measure ourselves and people around us using these yardsticks. Right? And that yardstick was meant to measure the performance and not the performer. But we make it so personal that, and that is why we study at the time of exams, basically. Crisis आता है तब और आप पढ़ते हो. Right? And I am not sure whether crisis study is the best mode of study. I am not sure. So please be very realistic about exams. They measure your performance on that particular day. I give marks to what you write. I don't give marks to you. आप जो काले से लिखते हो ना पेन पे उसको मार्क देता हूँ, आपको नहीं देता मैं. I don't see you. Right? So please be very realistic about exams. That's my point. So then the question would be, why are you here at all? If what's the whole purpose of coming to the class? That needs to be understood for yourself. Yeah, so that is the question for all of you. Why are you doing your MA program in the first place? Nisarg, ab batao, tu kya keh raha tha? Unmute yourself because you have written long stuff.
Sir, so you were saying that you would never someone would never study passionately outside of academic interest. So that's why I was asking you that. Have you never, experienced curiosity?
But no, how is it related to you not working?
But you are imposing some essay uh, onto us. It like we are interested in comparative studies, right? No.
Okay, Nisar, चल सुन मेरी बात सुन. मान लो you go to study medicine, right? And syllabus में आता है कि आपको pancreas के बारे में पढ़ना है. But you say no, I am passionately interested only about kidneys. So how would that sound?
Sir, that is objective field of study. This is like sort of subjective.
Pardon?
That your like lives of people would be dependent on it, on that thing. It's an objective field, but this is subjective. So like you can assess it later, or like there is this flexibility that this thing provides.
It's not
One is an
objective
extreme situation. One is an extreme
What?
situation that you need to learn. This is something that you can learn on time.
Learn
In any way you want. You can start from the end and you can go to the beginning. Can't you do that? You don't have to start from the beginning every time.
You can't do that. You can't do that. अगर FYBA के फर्स्ट ईयर में तेरे को मैं deconstruction सिखाने बैठूं, you can't do that. It's not as random as you think, right? It is graded. See, please be. Let's take more serious look at your study, because you seem to be kind of living in some land which I don't know which it is. It has to be graded. Your first year of FYBA, right, cannot be the same as studying Deleuze and Guattari in your first year. Yes, sir. It cannot be like that. You are in an educational setup where you are being trained to deal with texts of various complexities and challenges, right? It's not कहीं से भी start करो, right? ये कोई बगीचा नहीं है. It is a planned, structured material. You get that? Did you study Deleuze and Guattari in the first year BA? और बाद में glossary of literary terms MA semester 4 में आप पढ़ते हो कि literature क्या है? ऐसा हुआ था? तूने किया है first year core? नहीं सर?
सर थर्ड ईयर में पढ़ा था मैंने.
क्या?
Deleuze मतलब selectively Camus, Deleuze, Foucault.
No, that would not, even then, that would not be, it would not have that grounding.
Sir, how
that
can you like claim that?
Yes,
It would be grounded, sir.
No, you need to read up what has passed between Deleuze and other things. You need to be pretty good with that in order to reach that point, right? To read Foucault, you should be fairly good with structuralism and Nietzsche and the entire history of Western thought before that.
Sir, I believe I am.
No, that's a kind of very randomized reading. वो YouTube पे एक वीडियो देख लेके समझ लेते हो आप सबको आ गया.
No.
That's not going to work. Tell me what is Deleuze project. बताओ. तूने पढ़ा था TY में? क्या है वो?
क्या Deleuze का?
हाँ, what is Deleuze? Deleuze and Guattari's philosophical project क्या है? बताओ मुझे.
Sir, I not read it comprehensively. I flipped.
हाँ, तो नीम ये सब name dropping है. It's not understanding.
No, sir, I can create abstract structures with my words. I can present ideas complex, but I don't know exactly what they were saying, so I cannot tell you something which has been already written. But if you ask me to speak about something, I will present to you an idea that you would be like surprised, or at least you will acknowledge that it is good enough for like the claim I'm making.
So tell me about Deleuze and Guattari. I am telling you that you
so
cannot
asking me something that is.
You cannot listen, Dhruv. Listen. You cannot enter MD course without having cleared MBBS. right? This is not a buffet party. या आप यहाँ से थोड़ा सा डेलूज के 2-4 टर्म्स सीख के फेंकते रहते हो, यहाँ से 2-4 कुछ पढ़ लिया. You have to be rigorous. You have to be grounded in Western philosophical traditions to make sense of what Deleuze is saying. And I bet at TYBA you are not. So even if you might have read and made a very smart looking presentation, it is superficial. It's not, it may impress your batchmates, but not the people who have studied it. Right? ऐसे तो फेक डिग्री लेके डॉक्टर करने वाले होते ही है ना. Their patients, they are able to impress and even cure at times. But that doesn't mean they have that level of competence. You cannot start PhD in your first year of BA because you are not exposed to the discipline and you are not exposed to the advanced thinking about of that discipline, and that is how your study is structured, right? And those who did BA with me in first year and in the last year, I explained what is the BA program all about and MA program all about. Now, as a hobby, you may read anything on the net, right? And I'm not interested in that. You may impress your batchmates. For me, whether you are able to conceptually grasp it, the tradition in which these people are working, as so as to make sense of it, which requires a lot of patient study, right? That is a different thing, right? You have not studied what Derrida means by metaphysics of presence or logocentrism in TYBA, or what's difference and why does he talk about it, right? And then you jump to somebody who comes after that fairly later, right? You have not studied Jacques Lacan, and then somebody who is offering a critique of Jacques Lacan, right? To understand what Deleuze is doing. So there is a tradition within which Western philosophy as well as all intellectual traditions work.
Sir, can I interject?
Is a problem. Dilettantism is a problem. I won't accept what you are saying. Just because कुछ आपने कुछ चीजें पढ़ ली कहाँ पे, that cannot impress me.
Sir, what I would like
So
to
this
say.
is actually for Nisarg as well, right? See, Nisarg and Dhruv, you are in a structured program. You are not loitering in a garden where you may want to smell a particular flower तो जाके हम देख लिए. This requires a lot of thinking has gone into designing these programs, right? And it is not about jumping anywhere here or there to impress your batchmates. That's maybe the case, but then that is not the whole point. The point is that you develop yourself, build yourself from first year onwards. So the BA program was about exposing you to the various fields, various domains of English studies. You studied history of literary criticism, you studied history of language, you studied genres, you studied terminology, you studied histories of literature. And by the time you come to master's degree, and this is for all of you, this is not for Nisarg and Dhruv alone, you are exposed to advanced levels of thinking about, even if they are same text as what you have studied in your BA, because syllabus is not about text, it's about studying how to study. So at MA level, you're exposed to advanced level of studying literature, right? More rigorously, because it's a kind of preparation for real research. That's what MA program is all about, right? So it may, even if you are studying Paradise Lost in second year and then you study again Paradise Lost in MA, it's not the same. I hope you get what I'm saying, sir. ये सब्जेक्टिव है, कहीं पीछे से स्टार्ट करो तभी आगे निकल जाओ, ऐसा नहीं होता. This is a very stupid understanding of syllabus, and I'm saying this because you're tomorrow's teachers, right? If this is your approach to understanding your job, then you are in trouble, and your students are in greater trouble. You get that, Nisar?
Yes, sir.
The syllabus is always structured, and a lot of thinking has gone into developing why particular thing is at particular point, right? So literary criticism thing that you are studying now, for example, in your literary criticism and theory class, right, is very different from what you did in your BA program, right? You are reading the essays, you are studying Saussure, you are studying, and without studying Saussure, if somebody wants to show off and tell me, "Arey, Zizek ye keh raha hai," without reading Heidegger or Hegel, then I will pity that person, because that person may impress others in WhatsApp group. That is not the, that's not, it won't please or even amuse people who have studied these things at great length in their context, right? So it is not randomized. Secondly, your question was, you are not interested in something outside the syllabus, but whatever you do outside the syllabus is not my business, Nisar. तू कुछ भी पढ़ना, मैं कौन कहने वाला होता हूँ उसमें, मैं सिर्फ प्रोग्राम में आप क्या कर रहे हो उसके पर कह सकता हूँ. I will come to you, Dhruv, but first let me finish with Nisar's conversation. So what is your question? Never studied something outside academic. तो outside academics कुछ भी करना, उसके मैं, what am I supposed to do, right? Yes, I have my interests outside academics, but then this is not the place, right? So if you are into engineering, right, you are supposed to be good at engineering. तेरी hobbies plant gardening or plant grow करनी है, singing है, it's all very fine. It's for you. It's your own love. But that has nothing to do with your estimate as an engineer. Am I making this clear, Nisar?
Yes, sir.
तेरे मैथमेटिक्स के टीचर घर पे बहुत अच्छे सिंगर है, मान लो, so that's lovely, but that's not what that person is supposed to do as a teacher of mathematics. You get that? Am I? So is that your question? Passionate study, all very fine. It's very good. I would. There are people who are passionately for drama and they would spend all their life doing drama and they never came to class. ऐसे लोग मैं पहचानता हूँ, but they failed in my subject. I am not going to give them marks for what they do on stage. समझे निसर?
हाँ पर सर मैं तो मार्क्स के लिए नहीं आता ना, इसलिए.
तो मार्क के लिए नहीं आता मान लो, तो किस लिए आता है तो यहाँ पे? That is the question that I started out. Yeah, Dhruv, so why are you in the program? Why are you doing MA? Nisar, why are you doing MA?
For me specifically, I stumbled upon people, I mean philosophers and critics that I would not have otherwise stumbled upon. That is why it is interesting to me.
तो फिर एमए में से निकल जा, तेरे को मैं बुक लिस्ट दे देता हूँ, पढ़ते रहे ना. क्लास में क्यों आता है, एमए प्रोग्राम में क्यों आता है? I can tell you 100 books. Enjoy yourself and Stop MA classes. छोड़ दे MA करना.
But that doesn't mean that I'm not interested in some of them, that I want to study them at like MA course, in MA course. Some
Then
of
you
them
should
I'm
have
not
gone
so much
into
interested in. Some of them I'm interested in.
No, I suggest you should have gone to philosophy class. यहाँ पे क्यों MA with English में क्यों आए हो?
Even there, I would have had the same argument that some of the philosophers I'm not so much interested in. Some of them I'm interested
तो
in.
ऐसे ही हुआ ना, जैसे मैं कह रहा हूँ, क्योंकि आपके लिए MA प्रोग्राम क्या है कि कुछ दो चार चीजें जो इंटरेस्टिंग है वो पढ़ाई जाती है, इसलिए मैं आता हूँ. बट दैट इज नॉट व्हाट MA प्रोग्राम इज फॉर. गाड़ी जा रही है एक दिशा से कहीं पे, राइट? बट its intention, it covers various stations, but that is not the objective of an MA program, so that you can read 3 or 4 texts that you like. And that's why I keep asking you, if doctors and engineers and botanists say all these things, how will that sound? A botanist will say, अरे मुझे वो पीला फूल है ना, मुझे उसमें इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं है, मुझे तो लाल फूल में बहुत इंटरेस्ट है बस, और इसीलिए मैं बॉटनी कर रहा हूँ. How would that sound? A psychiatrist may say only I am interested only on 2 or 3 kinds of diseases. I'm not interested in other kinds of stuff about mind or neurology. उसमें मुझे कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं. How would that sound? Tell me. What would you call that person? अगर आपका दोस्त कहता है मैंने MBBS किया, मुझे लार्ज इंटेस्टाइन ने फैसिनेट किया था, but I didn't study anything about lungs or I didn't study anything about bones. What will you call that person? नहीं सर, बताओ बताओ. What will you call that person? This is for all. What will you call that person? Those who are in the class. A person, your friend, a doctor who says that in my MBBS, I was only interested in kidney. I wasn't really interested in small intestine or what is the structure of ear. What will you call that doctor? Anyone? What will you call that doctor? Will you call that person a doctor at all? Dilettante is not a doctor, right? You won't go to that person. Treatment के लिए जाओगे वहां पे? Madhu? And a person who is in who has done his a quack, very good, बहुत अच्छे. Person who super specializes in medicine. Have you heard of super specialization? There is a degree called DM after your MD, and there are very limited positions in all over country. I don't know if you have heard of a degree called DM. It's Doctor of Medicine, right? After MD. It's a research oriented degree. So that is MD is specialization and DM is super specialization. And I give you examples from medicine or botany is because knowledge has its own structure and educational programs are designed down, right? That's bachelors and masters and doctors. So super specialization is a degree. So where you may say, for example, you do MD with cardiology and then you super specialize in cardiology, right? So now that doesn't mean that you don't know anything about intestines or lungs or about pancreas. It means that you know about all these things, but you're specialized in this. That's your area of super competence, right? You know all those things, but you are super competent in one aspect, which is not the same as saying मैं बाकी सब नहीं पढ़ूंगा सिर्फ super specialize करूंगा. ये arrogance नहीं, stupidity है ये कहना, right? कि मैं डायरेक्टली डीएम करने जाऊंगा, मुझे एमबीबीएस करना ही नहीं है, नहीं तो मैं डीएम से स्टार्ट करके फर्स्ट पे आऊंगा. So Nisarg, it's high time you start taking studies seriously, and it involves things that may bore you, not interest you, but you are supposed to study it. You get that? If you are interested only reading those things which interest you, you need not do MA. आप घर पे रह के पढ़ सकते थे वो 10 किताबें. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if some things interest you, good, but that is not what you are here for, because you can do it without doing your MA. Is that clear? So MA program is designed to train you in various aspects of the discipline, right? So that when you go ahead, maybe you will go in for research if you want to go into academics in future, then you have the basis for doing research, because you are exposed to more or less contemporary developments in the field. Clear? It's not meant for you to participate in discussions regarding 3 or 4 things that you like. It is not a restaurant. It's a training program. Right? So stop thinking like quacks. You may opt out of the program and still read whatever you like. And in any way which you like. Nobody is going to have any issues with that. आप Agamben से start करके बाद में Aristotle पे आ सकते हो. Rightly said. Nobody is going to ask you anything about it. Doing anything that way you like. Okay, so Dhruv, you wanted to say something?
No, sir, but we'll have a conversation when we meet offline, because over here it's very difficult to convey ideas two-way.
No, but why? This is the space for ideas.
Sir,
I'm
because there is
explaining.
inequality of like this communication thing is not really at par. If I would be in
No.
present, we are talking to you in person, then we would have a much more efficient conversation than we are having right now.
Then why is that?
Sir, because in person you can like move around a bit. Like there is a flexibility of the sort that if you are, posing a counter argument against what I have said, then I can like sort of indicate to you or pause you or like agree with you, and there would be a much more like fluidity in how we talk. Because right now what I believe is that you have this one particular point set in your mind. You have framed it in certain but like structures, and you will take me there even if I don't want to go. So I do not feel that. Well, I'm not like accusing you of anything. This is how conversation is supposed to go, but like I don't think this would be favorable for me. What I wanted to say back then, and I put it very concisely, was that you said that when I said like things, you said that I was name dropping and I was trying to impress my batchmates, but it's not so. What I wanted to say was that certain teachers in psychology who were doing their PhD have asked me for their help. I have substance, but I cannot prove it to you because we do not have enough time over here. Also, this is not casual. This is a classroom, so I will not be able to present my ideas, and you like obviously you would not allow me to. I have had conversation, very deep, impactful conversations with people who are much older than even probably you, and they have all been really like they have acknowledged that I do have substance. So I have surety not because I'm narcissistic or condescending, but I have got some validation from people who I trust, whose opinions I trust. That is why I was like claiming that.
Bro, let me put very simply. This is an MA program, yeah? You are doing your MA with English from MSU, and these are the courses that I'm teaching you, right? It has its own structure and requirements, right? And one of the requirements is that you're supposed to read. I don't care if you get a certificate in swimming from Joe Biden. That's none of my business. That's good for you. I am just telling you that you are not doing what you are supposed to do in the class. I don't care what validation and what kind of philosophical depth of conversations that you have outside this program. You are supposed to read and come. And you did not do that, right? So it's my job to tell you that if you are part of this MA program, which has its own structure and requirements, and if you are not willing to follow it, right, then it's my job to pull you up so that I'm getting salary from the taxes that your parents pay, right? To hold you to account, to ask whether you are following this structure. Now, if you don't like this structure, you can leave, right? There is no law which says that aap MA chhod nahi sakte. You can very well leave. But if you want to be part of this design, then you better follow that design. Who you are outside this does not matter to me, right? Whatever capabilities you have, as I said, a mathematician teacher of mathematics may be a wonderful singer, right? And I would have all the admiration for that person as a singer. But if that teacher of mathematics came to me to teach maths, and if that person was not doing his job, then it's my job to tell that person, look, this is what you are supposed to do here. Can you make this distinction, Dhruv? You may be a profound philosopher. You may be a profound philosopher, right? But my job is to see whether you follow the design of the program and you do as it is meant to be, not as you like it yourself. Whatever your abilities are outside this, all very good. I am not invalidating this. I am not taking even that away from you, right? It's part of your personality, so good. So if people who are older to me have congratulated you and held you in high esteem, that does not make any difference to the fact that you are not reading and coming to the class. You get that?
Yes, sir. I respond to forthrightness, and if you would have said this in the first thing that you have to read it because you are not coming to the class, then I would have disagreed with you. You were taking a bit like sort of abstract way to it. I agree with you, sir. Then I will come to the class after.
Not just that. See, not just that. It's also you have not read and come. अगर आपने पढ़ के आते तो I would not have asked you so much question about your presence.
Yeah, sir, you're right.
Right. Yeah. Because you are coming here not for presence. You are coming here to do work, which is assigned to you. And you are not doing that. It is as basic and simple as that.
Sir, can you always put it this way? It's way more.
I will always put it that way.
Cool, sir. And we'll come with the essays read.
Very good. Very good. Right? And if you are better than me, then I will think my job is done. I won't have to break my head against the wall. Yeah, students should always exceed their teachers, right? But when I am your coach, then you better be coachable, right? Even Tendulkar will have to follow what the coach says, because that's what the game is all about, right? So I expect all of you to have read and come to class. Is that clear for everyone? I don't really care if you are brilliant in some other field, because that I may not understand. There were students who are very good in astronomy. I don't know much about that field, right? They were brilliant, but they never used to come. There were people who are brilliant in theater. They never came to class and they didn't do what they are supposed to do. So what can I do? I have to again give marks on basis of what you have written on the sheet of paper. So I had to fail some people who I had to fail. It's not because they were bad people, right? Or they were not intelligent, right? They were excellent in various fields. And it's good that you have more abilities than just academics. But don't confuse this for that. That's the only thing. You have to keep these two things separate. That this is a particular design that you have paid fees and entered, and we are given salaries to see that you follow this design, right? That is that. I'm glad this came up. Means I'm sure everybody would have related to these conversations. And I'm actually very thankful for Nisarg and Dhruv to bring these things up in open, because people carry on these things in their mind without saying it very often, right? And that also would provide you clarity about what this thing is. Right?
Sir, can I say one last thing, if you may permit? Sir, in the beginning I said that. Yeah, in the beginning I was just saying that this depends a lot on authority, and in the end you had to become authoritative and order us in a way, like demand us to read. So it's the most efficient way. That's all I was saying.
Okay, but then please don't be your own authority at times, because you know what, nobody is going to watch over you if and board you to do work at times. Self-driven people make difference in whatever field. So you may excel in some other fields, but you are self-driven in that, right? So in order to excel, you have to be self-driven rather than people pulling you up. That's not a good thing. When you were kids, yes, homework kiya ki nahi, padha ki nahi, that's fine. But when you grow up, then you are also supposed to drive yourself. So, and that's what you said. Yes, it won't matter. And let me tell you something very amusing. I always don't get your name. क्या है आपका नाम?
Sir.
Huh?
Pankaj, sir. Pankaj.
Pankaj. Yes. You know what?
Yes, sir.
Let me tell you a personal story, right? I write poetry. I have around 2 collections of poetry in Marathi. I translated hundreds of poems in my life and dozens of short stories and all that. But when it came to my promotions, it was not calculated as research contribution, right? My poem is not considered as, so I did not get any points for my poems or translations. Or I wrote criticism in Marathi. I have a book. I have around 15 essays in Marathi, which I have brought out as a book. and none of them got me any marks points for my promotion because they were in Marathi and they were research, right? So people who would be screening these things for my promotion would say, go to Marathi department, वहाँ पे मिलेंगे आपको points. Pankaj. So, so what happens is this, that I do what I have to do, right? And I may be a good poet, I may be a bad poet, whatever, that is a separate conversation, right? But when I'm part of a certain system, right, then it has its own mechanisms. Now, we may not like those mechanisms, right? Because it doesn't really, they don't follow our passions, right? So all that, lot of stuff that I've done, plus even the talks that I gave in literary society, in literary festivals, would not count as seminar proceedings, right? Or workshops, creative writing workshops that I did would not count as a seminar presentation. So what does that mean? It means that all these things mean nothing in the structure, right? And structures are decided from Delhi to Gandhinagar to Baroda, rather than from the other way around, right? So Pankaj, what do you say to that?
Sir, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, sir, what I mean is that, so everything we are reading right now, so that is giving perception to us, okay? And anyhow,
बिल्कुल.
we will
And
try
my
to.
research, yeah, my ये सब्जेक्ट मैं क्यों पढ़ा रहा हूँ पता है? क्योंकि मैं वही करते आ रहा हूँ, right? So though it is personal and I don't get points for it, it's my perception that, as you rightly pointed out, that enters my teaching as well. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. You will. But अभी आपको अगर उसमें success नहीं मिल रही है, but in future there are chances that your work should be published or would be published. So I'm talking
No, it
about
is.
that. अगर हम
No,
अगर हम शेक्सपियर को
what I'm saying is that my life as a writer, I have some small success and failure, but that does not give me any mileage, direct mileage in my profession. In terms of concrete, यानी अगर मुझे एक स्टेज से नेक्स्ट स्टेज जाना है तो मुझे उसमें से कुछ मिल नहीं रहा है. That's what I'm saying directly. I think we are running out of time, Dhruv, so we will do it tomorrow. But this conversation for me is much more important than presentation, because it's not content present, it's about fundamentals on which we are trying to build something. Yeah, right. So in case these fundamentals are not clear to all of you, then even if you get good marks, you're going to flounder around in your life as you proceed. So it's good to have clarity about the game which we are playing through, right? And Lisa. So clarity about the game that we are up to is more important than your one-day individual presentation. The game that we are playing is that this is the design of the game. दो स्टंप्स के बीच में 22 मीटर्स है तो 22 मीटर्स है. आपको पसंद नहीं है तो हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते, राइट? और लेदर का बॉल होगा, टेनिस का बॉल नहीं होगा, तो क्यों? क्योंकि ऐसा ही, दैट इज व्हाट द गेम इज. सो दिस इज व्हाट इज सो अबाउट द गेम. सो बेटर clearer you are about it, better for you and your investment of your time in this program. Right? Like Nisar was not clear about what this game, जो गेम खेलने जा रहा है वो गेम क्या है वही इसे पता नहीं था. उसे लगा कि 4 अच्छी किताबें जो उसे पसंद है उसके बारे में सुनने जा रहा हूं मैं, पर वो गेम था ही नहीं. Right? So better clarity about the game will help you to participate better in the MA program. So for me, that is much more important than individual presentations. And coming to Ravindra's question, Pankaj's question, is that my passions don't have a direct connection with this. Right? So if you're writing poetry, you will have an insight and perception, but that doesn't mean your analysis of poetry will be better than that of others. I hope you are getting what I'm saying. Pankaj.
Yes, sir. But sir, do you think
research उससे personal insight होते हैं. If I write poetry, then my relation to teaching poetry will be different and analysis of poetry will be different, definitely. But that doesn't mean that I am sufficiently trained to study poetry. The BA and MA program are training programs how to study. They are not training programs about how to write poetry. Right? That distinction also, and we'll discuss it when we discuss translation. So BA MA programs are programs which develop your competence in studying literature, right? So you are exposed to, equipped with certain methodologies, right, as a researcher and student of literature. And that is what the 5-year thing that you're doing is all about. So, and a poet may not have to study and do BA or MA with English, right? You may not have to do anything. अनपढ़ कबीर भी महान कवि हो सकता है. पंकज, भारत का सबसे महान कवि कबीर है, उसको लिखना भी नहीं आता था. तो BA MA करने से आप अच्छे कवि बन सकते हो या नॉवेलिस्ट बन सकते हो, ऐसा भी नहीं है. So all these 3 questions are, and the conversation that we had, are about clarifying what game you are playing, so that you have a sense of how to participate. Does anyone have to say something about our conversations? Some people may have feel bored, but that's fine. You are here to get bored. Does somebody have to say something? Okay, those people who are vaccinated, right, will read and come tomorrow the first essay. If you don't read the first essay, don't come to class. Is that clear? Don't come to the class. This is not KG, this is PG. So I don't care about your presence. Secondly, read the essay that is going to be discussed. पूजा, दोनों ऐसे पढ़ने पड़ेंगे क्योंकि आपने एक नहीं पढ़ा इसलिए आपका काम डबल हो जाता है. Right? All vaccinated people are now immune to reading or working hard. So you can read twice. जिन लोगों ने 2 जैब्स लिए हैं वो डबल काम करेंगे. और आपका बर्थडे था तो you will have to read both the essays and come. पूजा. So If you have not read, don't come tomorrow. Will you take that on? How many of you agree? ये डेटा बचा के आप कुछ देख सकते हो, अपना OTT पे कुछ अच्छा देखो, उससे क्लास में मत आओ. Okay, so we meet tomorrow. Yes, Dhruv, go ahead. You want to say something?
No, sir.
Good. So tomorrow we meet and we will present, right? And I don't want anybody who is not reading regularly to come to the class, because I'm not interested in Katha. I'm not Murari Babu. मेरे पास कोई ज्ञान नहीं है बांटने के लिए. मेरा जॉब है आपको ट्रेन करना है हाउ टू स्टडी प्रॉपरली, बस. Full stop. So if you're not doing what I'm saying, then don't come. Okay, so we meet tomorrow and we will have presentation on the second essay by Hon Saucy. Okay, then see you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Get